Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Slam Talk Sports. I'm, of course, Slam. Yes, I am Mr. Darcy Slam Duncan in your ears and in your eyes right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you know where to find me. You know the socials, but I'll say them anyway. It is Slam Talk Sports on Instagram and TikTok. It is Darcy_Duncan21 on Twitter. It's beautiful to be back in your lives once again on a beautiful Friday afternoon. I say beautiful, it was pouring rain, but then it was sunny. It was 4 seasons in one day. Crowded House actually knew what they were talking about. But what am I talking about right now? Well, I'm not too sure, because there's no footy games on this weekend. Well, there's no men's footy games on this weekend, excuse me. The Essendon game between Richmond and the Bombers. Well, I say the Essendon game because I'm a Bombers fan, as you can see right now on YouTube. But the game tonight is Dreamtime in Darwin in the AFLW between Essendon and Richmond. I'll be watching that. But there are no men's games on. You know, this is what this podcast is about, unfortunately. Is it about the AFL competition? And there's nothing to really talk about when it comes to the games. We're going to do that next week when we preview a huge final series. Boy, I cannot wait for that one. Probably the most even finals in a long time. So what on earth are we going to talk about today? Just by myself, solo as always. Well, last night, there was a few things that went down in the AFL world. We had the Legends game. That was great to watch, to see that return. So many great happy memories for myself watching the Legends game growing up. You know, always you had Bill Brandless out there, or you had Sam Newman coaching on the sidelines. You had Derm, you had BT way back in the day when it was played in the 90s and early 2000s at Princess Park. And I always remember Craig Hutchinson's goal. I know you talk about the former players, the legends that played, but I remember always the influences sometimes, like last night, but the media talents or the people involved in footy that produced incredible moments on this night. Craig Hutchinson's goal from like 40 out when Fitzy tried to give him the brown eye or the moon. He walked around him and kicked a snap and had everyone stunned at home. Hamish Andy playing in the Legends game back in the day. Hamish, not so good at footy. Andy, not great either, but they both managed to snag goals. And last night, it was a return to form for this great event. Daniel Gorringe, of course, bringing 3,000 plus people into the stadium. And, of course, $1 million being raised. I think a large portion of credit needs to go towards Dan Gorringe, as well as Ollie Gill from the Dan Does Footy podcast. But, of course, it was great to see the likes of Joe Watson, Dane Swan, Gary Ablett Jr., the best player I've ever watched. And on the All-Stars side of things, so many great players, Nick Riewoldt, Cyril Rioli. It was an absolute joy to watch, and I enjoyed the very small parts of it that I did see. But I was watching, of course, what we're all watching, which was the AFL Awards, AFL's Awards night, whatever you want to call it. It boils down to the All-Australian team. I want to talk about the All-Australian team. Okay, I'll start there and work my way back. Let's start with the issues on this side. All right, you have 9 people converging maybe 3-4 times a year, and it appears not all of them are watching football. Some of them are watching the games in their state. They're watching the games that they've been given as part of their role in the media, but they ain't watching all the games because some of the conclusions I just don't understand. Let me start from the back line. The clear and obvious one that everyone's going to question as I bring the team up here. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll bring the team up so you can see it. The clear and obvious one, it's got to be Josh Battle. I don't really understand it. Josh Battle had a very good year coming across from St Kilda. He had a great year. People question, like Damien Barrett, if compensation was broken when the Saints received the top 10 pick for Josh Battle. The very next season, he's been an All-Australian selection, but I don't think he had a better year than last year. I don't think he had a better year than Callum Wilkie, who wasn't even in the squad. I don't think he had a better year than Josh Worrell. Josh Worrell, an unheralded star defender now for the Adelaide Crows, he wasn't picked in the side. Why was Josh Worrell not picked when Adelaide had one of the top 2 defenses in the AFL? And they've gone from one of the worst teams in football to one of the best teams in football. Hawthorn had a steady defense last year. They played finals. Their field position is actually worse than last year. On the other side, Adelaide had a porous defense, and now they're one of the best defenses. And Josh Worrell, in my opinion, is the best defender in that back 6. On top of that, Collingwood had no defenders even named in the squad, and they were a top 2 defense themselves. So what are we rewarding? Are we rewarding seasons that were unexpected from big-name players at big clubs? Or are we rewarding defensive impact and clubs that are actually coming in the top of the ladder and having great defensive seasons? Now, defense is a team thing, I understand that, but Worrell is far and away the best defensive player on the Adelaide Crows. And the fact that he wasn't picked is troubling to me. I just don't understand it. The rest of the back line, I don't have too many issues with. Sam Taylor, as I'll bring the graphic back up for those on YouTube, always watching on YouTube to see my insane thoughts and my new haircut. Thank you, Jin. Sam Taylor, fullback, very good player. He missed a heap of games this year. Wasn't his best year, in my opinion. So I don't mind him at fullback, but Josh Worrell arguably had a better year than Sam Taylor as well. Josh Battles, we can go back to Josh Battle, but his stats, they're magnificent. I think he got in the team on the back of a video that was done on the Monday morning with Damien Barrett and Matthew Lloyd. What's the Access All Areas? Was that show or the round so far? One of the AFL.com videos that showed all the Battles victims this year. That's what got him in this team. That's what I think happened. Anyway, Sam Taylor, best defender in the competition on his day. Was it his day enough this year? I'm uncertain about that. Fantastic player. Not going to begrudge him being in, but I'm not sure. Jordan Clark, big tick. Fantastic running halfback for the Fremantle team. Also underrated defensively. I think he was one of the first picked in this year's team. Obviously, I'm a big backer of Jordan Clark. I'm a little bit biased. I had him from day one in my Supercoach team. I think he had a fantastic year for the Dockers, so he's a great pick. Ballydale on a halfback flank, his second selection in the All-Australian side. Not going to argue too much with Ballydale. You could have had potentially Lockie Ash. You could have had potentially Dane Zorko. Those were your other options, or you put Clark on the halfback line. You pick another, more tall or general defender, not a flanker in Jordan Clark's position. But I think Ballydale is deserving of this selection. Probably the only real A-plus player in the Western Bulldogs defense. Then you got Harris Andrews. Harris Andrews has been snubbed of All-Australian multiple times. He hasn't been All-Australian, I think, in 5 seasons. And when you consider Brisbane have been contending for that whole time, and they've had a strong defence, and he's been far and away their only All-Australian calibre defender until Dan Zorko came into the fold of their back six after the Kadeen Coleman injury, then I think he's been snubbed multiple times. He's been enormous over the last 2 months. He is one of the best selections in this year's team. Andrews had to be in it. Could have potentially been vice-captain or captain. He is a premiership captain himself. And on the other halfback flank, we have Naziah Wanganeen-Millera, one of the first picked as well. An absolute lock on a halfback flank. He played most of the year there. A truly breakout year for Nas. He also came third in the MVP, which was stunning. A player voted vote. I get those words out. And the winner, of course, was Nick Dacos. But Nas came third in the MVP, showing his meteoric rise. Let's go to the midfield. No, I've got big issues with the midfield. It's not specifically the players. It's just how they line up. I don't understand it. Start with Bailey Smith on a wing. He hasn't played there. But Bailey Smith left the Bulldogs because he was being put on a wing, because he was being put at half forward. Now, I know this is how the All-Australian team works, but I'm sorry, he's not a wingman. But that's not my biggest issue. I'm not here to whinge, as Kane Corns would say. I'll play Kane Corns and David King's breakdown of the All-Australian team after I get through my pros and cons and the things I liked from last night's selections. Jordan Dawson, named in the guts as your vice-captain. Big tick. He's played predominantly as a midfielder. He is one of the best players in the competition. He has to be named across your midfield in the centre line. No issues there. McCluggage, again, doesn't play wing. He's now an inside midfielder. He's one of the most damaging midfielders in the competition. But because he can get his ball on the outside, similar to Bailey Smith, then they've named him on a wing. I think that's fine. You can probably get away with that. No great wingman performances this year. Errol Goulden is a lock pretty much every single season, but he missed the first 4 months with an ankle injury. So I don't think there's any issues picking McCluggage there on your wing. Let's go to the rest of the midfielders. Your ruck, Max Gawn. Now, Max Gawn just had his 8th All-Australian selection. He truly is the best ruckman of our generation, potentially the best ruckman of all time. He would have been my All-Australian captain. I think they didn't do it due to the turmoil at Melbourne. In fact, Jack Rewald's question to Max Gawn after he received his 8th All-Australian blazer was about the turmoil at Melbourne, the fact they'd lost their coach, and what he does in the off-season. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. You should be honouring the best ruckman we've ever seen. If you're going to talk to Max, why are you talking about the negatives? Why are you focusing on that? He's obviously overcome that to provide you with one of the great ruck seasons and to be the most honoured ruckman in the history of our sport. I found that just to be a little bit off. Anyway, Max Gawn, clearly your ruckman. Noah Anderson named starting on ball as well. I think that's clear. He's one of the best players in the competition. He won the Coaches Association Player of the Year along with Bailey Smith. They both tied for it. That's fine. I don't like Ed Richards starting in the midfield. I think Ed Richards can be in your team. He's one of the highest score involvement players, an absolute jet, kicked close to 30 goals, very, very good player. But when you look who's on the bench, it doesn't make any sense to me. Why is Nick Dacos on the bench of the All-Australian team? He's clearly one of the top 3 players in the competition. He's favourite for the Brownlow. He's just won the MVP. So why is he starting on the bench? They'll say, oh, everyone plays on the bench now. It's the modern game. But when it comes to legacy, when it comes to honouring your greats, when it comes to all-time, when you're splitting hairs between him or Garblett Jr. or Wayne Carey or Lee Matthews in 30 years' time, then I think it kind of sort of does matter. Why is he not named on field? And why are players who are far less decorated with far less of a resume, who haven't played as well as Nick this year, named starting on the field? That's me. I just don't understand it. Nick Dacos should be starting in the All-Australian team. He's the best player in the competition, arguably. Anyway, we'll move forward. That's just a little thing from me. One of my whinging... Well, I'm just whinging because I want to whinge, according to Kane. Anyway, half-forward line, Isaac Heaney had a fantastic year, rebounded from disappointment of being injured in the grand final and losing that grand final. He kicked close to 40 goals. I think it was at 36 in the end, and also a dominant force in the midfield. Isaac Heaney, absolute lock. He should own that half-forward spot. Now that Patrick Dangerfield is at the end of his tether, I say that because he's 35 years old. I don't think Danger will get another All-Australian Blazer. And Christian Petrarca, still unlikely, I think, now entering his 30s to reclaim that half-forward position. That is now Isaac Heaney's to own for as long as he wants it, as long as he's going to play like a top 5 to 10 player in the competition. Jeremy Cameron, centre forward, makes a lot of sense, the best forward in the competition. The fact he's captain makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, they tried to rationalise it this morning on Fireball Friday, saying that it is an honour. It's an honour to one of the greatest players of the last 25 years, one of the great forwards, and it's used to recognise players who wouldn't ordinarily get that sort of honour. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just doesn't. Now, I know Buddy Franklin was captain of this team as well, probably like 2018 or 19. He was stunned as well. 18, 19. I'm not sure of the year with Buddy. Also, we saw Tom Hawkins be named captain of the All-Australian team. Key forwards traditionally aren't captains in football. They're temperamental. They're sometimes divas. They're also the most talented players on the park. So they get upset with people who are mere mortals trying to deliver them the ball. So Jeremy Cameron has never been a captain of any club. And he even tried to give away the captaincy of this fake team to someone else as he was being honoured. I think the captain had to be Jordan Dawson or Max Gawn or even Marcus Bonampelli. Bont had his 7th All-Australian, as you'll see in a second. He's one of the great players we've seen in our time. He's a great captain as well. So why not give it to him? Can't say that, he's on the bench, and then say that, Nick Dacos is on the bench, but it doesn't matter. Well, then say, why can't you give the captaincy to someone on the bench? You can't have it both ways, AFL. I'm sorry. The inconsistencies and lack of transparency in picking these teams is driving me crazy. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Jeremy Cameron should not be the captain. It should be Max Gawn. It should be Jordan Dawson. It should be Marcus Bonampelli. It could even be Noah Anderson, even though it's his first one. That's not how the award works. But surely you give it to someone that's an actual leader of their club. Anyway, back to the team. On the half-forward line, we have Zach Bailey. Zach Bailey had a really good year, really damaging year. There's a lot of games where he'd pop up, kick 3-4 goals, and just be an absolutely thorn in the opposition side. Tends to pig out on bad teams. I'm thinking more specifically of the game against Port Adelaide when he just put them to the sword. He's a very good player. We saw him play well on Grand Final Day a couple of years back against the Pies. I don't have a big issue with it just because in the squad they named, there wasn't a lot of creative, damaging, crafty, fast half forwards. You've named Isaac Heaney, who's not known for his speed. He's one of the most dominant one-on-one forwards we have and a great midfielder. Zach Bailey had a little bit more midfield time, but I kind of understand him being named on a half-forward flank, although I would not say he's had a better year than Isaac Rankin, who was never going to get picked in this team after what happened in the last few weeks. But I think Bailey is fortunate in that Isaac Rankin has been suspended and the public perception of him has been so far downgraded that made a selection in this side very difficult for the AFL. Moving to the full forward line, Jack Gunston, the ageless wonder, kicked, 60-something goals. I think he had to be in that team. He's probably been picked over Jamie Elliott. Now, Jack Gunston has played as that third tall, lead-up, link-up man. On the Hawthorn team, he really is just a forward pocket or a full forward who mainly leads out from goal and just dobs them from 35 to 40 metres out, if that. So, considering the role Elliott and Gunston play is somewhat similar, I don't mind him being picked over Elliott. Then we've got Riley Thilthorpe. He's one of the great bear in the square operators. I would not want to come against Riley if I'm any key back in the AFL, let alone the key backs he's facing in the finals series. I think Riley much deserved to be picked in the All-Australian team for 2025. And you got Cozzy Pickett in the other forward pocket. Now, Cozzy's numbers are better than Jamie Elliott's. I think that, again, is between him and Elliott who got picked in the team. Cozzy averaged about 19 touches a game, which is about 6 or 7 more than Jamie. Jamie kicked 10 plus more goals. So it's really a coin flip. I wouldn't have minded if you picked Elliott over Pickett. Now, the reason why I would pick Elliott over Pickett if I'm making that argument is that Elliott's kicked so many clutch goals and has been the best forward in a team that was top of the ladder for 18 rounds. I know they've had a little bit of drop-off. Elliott had a drop-off in that period as well. But if you're judging over the entire season, then I think Elliott's season is arguably better than Cozzy Pickett. Now, Cozzy Pickett's spike, I mean, he's the prime of this season. I mean, his peak games was probably like a 14-week period, mainly when he got moved into CBAs and then would run forward and kick goals and just be creative, a bit more up the ground at times in order to get himself involved, while Jamie's a low possession player and a goal kicker. Having said that, I still think that's a very close margin to call, and I like to reward teams that won and the best forward or the best defender or the best midfielder in that team that has achieved success. Melbourne had a terrible year. Cozzy was great. Elliott had a great year. Collingwood were really, really good for the majority of the year. So I think that's a very small one. I'm not going to criticise them either way on that selection. And we finally moved to the interchange bench. And of course, Nick Dacos is on the bench. Why is Nick Dacos on the bench? I still do not know. You cannot explain it to me. He's a better midfielder than Ed Richards. He just is. He's a better player than Ed Richards. And don't say it's the modern game, because this shit matters when it comes down separating all-time. And Nick Dacos, as far as we can see, is going to be all-time. He's going to be a top 10 guy. So I just think it's dumb that he's not starting in your All-Australian team. Anyway, Marcus Bonampelli got this absolutely right, the AFL, the selection committee. Marcus Bonampelli, his per game, what he did since returning from that calf injury, was as good as any player, arguably better than any player in the competition. Marcus Bonampelli had to be named on your bench. He said last night, I think I was a little bit lucky. I didn't think I had that good a year. Well, you look at his numbers, they're as good as anyone's. His personal numbers, averages in terms of disposals, score involvements, turnover to ball retention sort of thing, his inside 50 use, and the goals he kicked and when he kicked them, probably the best 18 weeks or 17 weeks of his career. So I think Bont needed to be in there. Matty Rowell, obviously named last on the bench. I think he absolutely needed to be in there. He came third in the Coaches Association Player of the Year. He went from being a really good two-way player to being arguably the best two-way player in the competition in terms of midfielders. His ability to win the ball at contest and then to spread and to tackle and kick goals a bit more than he had in the past. Had to be in the All-Australian team. Him and Anderson are the engine room. They are the biggest reason why the Gold Coast Suns are in the finals finally. And the player that I have one of the biggest issues with in this team is Caleb Serong. Why is Caleb Serong in the All-Australian side? I do not understand it. Caleb had one of the worst years of his career. I mean, his recent career, if I can say that, the prime of his career. Now, this year, Caleb Serong, I think, was tagged maybe 5 or 6 times to little effect. If that happens, he shouldn't be in the All-Australian team. He is the most taggable superstar in the AFL. Up and running, at his best, potentially even next Saturday night against the Gold Coast Suns, who have been very poor against opposition midfielders. Caleb Serong might have 35 touches. I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. But this award is based on the home and away season. Caleb Serong didn't have a better home and away season than Zach Butters or Josh Dunkley or Max Holmes. In my opinion, he wasn't even close. Great player, Caleb Serong. One of the top 10 midfielders in the competition on his day. It wasn't his day enough in 2025 to warrant all-Australian selection. I think Josh Dunkley had to be rewarded for one of the great two-way seasons and his ability to step up in the absence of Lachie Neale in some must-win games to deliver Brisbane top 4. Also think Max Holmes was Geelong's most consistent player week on, week out, and a more damaging kick than Bailey Smith. Bailey Smith just won the Champion Player of the Year. You're telling me Max Max Holmes isn't an All-Australian player, I don't want to hear it. And then Zach Butters. Zach Butters, what he did week to week once returning from his knee injury in about round 4 or 5 was as good week to week as any other midfielder in the competition. A great ball winner, a damaging player in the front half, not a huge goal kicker, but one of my favourite players to watch and a midfielder that any club in the AFL would love to have. I think Butters deserved All-Australian selection. This is that AFL Champion Player of the Year we are talking about. If you don't think he fits comfortably in this side based on this season, even with Port struggles, then I don't know what game you're watching, okay? That is the team for 2025. I think they got it about 75 to 80% correct, but some of the ones they got incorrect are pretty glaring in my opinion. I'm going to play the 10-minute breakdown from this morning's Fireball Friday between Kingy and Kane. If you don't like these two blokes, you want to think, Slam, we're here to listen to you, you can fast forward. But I think it's a very interesting discussion on how the All-Australian Committee came to these decisions.
In football, all right, go on.
Well, let's discuss the Australian team. I want to ask you, are you happy with the team?
Extremely happy with the team. Congratulations to the players that were selected and earned a blazer, which is very difficult to do. Yeah. It is very difficult to earn one of these blazers. It feels like it's harder than ever to get one. They got one and they deserved it. So well done to all who were rewarded with outstanding individual seasons.
I'm not asking you to be the spokesman, but I'm asking you to be the spokesman. How does it arrive at Jeremy Cameron as captain? Now, I love Cameron. I think he's been the best player in the comp probably the last 2.5 years, really. I think there was a point halfway through the season of 22, was it, where he was just amazing. His field kicking was just next level. And it normally goes to a person of stature in their own club, someone who's in the leadership group of their own club, if not captain of their own club. We seem to have moved away from that. Is it a conscious decision to make it a marquee player?
Who would your captain have been first?
No. I think there's a choice of captains of their clubs. Well, Jordan Dawson, who was vice captain, I would have thought he would have been in the rank. I would have also thought Noah Anderson was a chance. But I just want to. Is it a clear decision to go away from club captains to the marquee player?
Well, once again, I'm not the spokesperson for the All-Australian team.
But you are.
Okay, and in the past, there have been captains of the All-Australian team that aren't captains of their own club. Yep. Buddy Franklin has been a captain. Tom Hawkins has been a captain of the All-Australian team. So it has been a title for recognition of long and outstanding performance. That's probably all I can say on that. Is it a conscious decision? I don't know. Everyone,
I don't mind it if that's the way we're going.
Well, you've seen that. Your Buddy was captain, I don't know, years ago, and you never would have thought Buddy. Well, he's never captain of his club. I don't think he would have spent a whole heap of time in the leadership group across his 20-year career. Tom Hawkins probably similar to Jeremy Cameron. So I think it's an outstanding honour for a player that has been at the top of his game for such a long period of time and was clearly one of the better performers individually for the year.
So is that not something that's discussed amongst the group?
Yeah, no, it's discussed.
Okay.
But it's just
so you were aware when you left that meeting he was going to be captain?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just building the facts. Well, I don't know whether someone else makes the decision on captain.
No, that's a collective decision, as they all are.
All of them?
Yep.
All right. Point number 2 on my little list here. How does Josh Battle get in the back pocket? Has he had it? Because the criteria that comes back to me every time we have this discussion is, have they had an All-Australian level year? And who would you take out if you're going to bring one in? Now, I think he's had a very good year. Has he had an All-Australian level year? Would be my question.
Who would you have selected in front of him?
I think Worrell's probably had a better season. I think Loston's probably had a better season. They would be the two that I think would consider themselves unlucky for that spot, put it that way.
You think Loston plays the similar role?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
What role?
But I'm not way? I think Battle takes the best opposition forward. I don't think Loston does that. And without, as I said, I'm not here to defend the team or whatever, but if you look at his record on the best this year, it's extraordinary for Josh Battle.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, his performance on the opposition's most dangerous forward was outstanding.
Extraordinary.
Is what I'll say. Yeah.
Wow.
His defensive performance on the best was extraordinary.
Very interesting.
So you think Vlosten was clearly, and then, I think they played.
No, two names. So Worrell.
Yeah, Worrell. Once again, I think Worrell doesn't play the role that Battle plays.
Does Wilkie?
Yeah.
You just rated Battle season above Wilkie's, I guess. Is the discussion
as a 9-person selection committee?
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you specifically.
Well, you are, but
no. The only one I want to ask you specifically is about Aaron Norton, how he didn't make the squad, because I find that staggering. I had a few people send me some messages because they thought it was personal, and I said no, that's unfair on you, but I will ask him. When you look at the goal kickers for the year, and I know you're going to say first 9 weeks, last sort of 13 or 14, Cameron Gunston, Ben King, Georgiades, Thilthorpe, Elliott and Darcy are the other top 8 goal kickers for the year. And Norton, who sits at 4, is not even in the squad. Logic? Reasoning?
Well, once again, Kingy, it's a 9-person selection.
Yeah, I know, but there'd be an idea of why he's not there.
And, well...
You don't have to give specifics, but, you know, why would the other guys be in front of him?
Why do you think? What's your best guess? If you sat down at the round 12 point of selecting an All-Australian team, where do you think Aaron Norton would have been on the list 12? Of players halfway through the year?
Yeah, but I could
and
say
then
that,
Darcy comes back, and his performance is great. And he had a stretch there where absolutely was worthy of All-Australian selection. But once again, there's some good forwards. The forward. You seen the forward line?
Squad, though.
You seen the forward line?
I've seen the forward line.
It's pretty good.
It's very good. I'm glad you put Cozzy in there. I thought that for a while there he was going to miss. I'm thrilled for Hugh McCluggage.
Yeah.
For him to be recognised, that's a pretty big deal on your CV. When you've been through a premiership period with the club, you need to get that on your CV. Nasir at halfback's terrific. Bailey Dale, I think Bailey Dale gets in there. He's a top liner in our competition. He's almost welded to a halfback flank at the moment. Four mids on the bench doesn't sit well with me.
Which one of those should have missed out?
No, not
which one of Dacos, Bontempelli, Sarong or Rouse should have missed out? There should have
been a 7th defender there for me.
Well, Nick Dacos can play in defence.
Yeah,
he's played it pretty well.
Yeah, but Nick Dacos, you've already got Nasir down there as that style of player.
Well, if you want a 7th defender, Nick Dacos could adequately perform that role very, very well.
Isaac Heaney could play that role very well, but I don't think you've picked necessarily a 7th defender, which would be my critique. So
Nick Dacos can't play as a 7th defender.
I don't think you picked him as a 7th defender. Okay. No, right. That would be my one. I mean, I'm not talking.
He's played a bit of footy there this year, across halfback at times.
He? Yeah. I don't think you picked him as a 7th
anyway.
defender.
I find it.
So you're happy with the team?
Very happy, and I find the sooking and the whinging about it. Not just you, but from, and I get the passion. Everyone wants their player to be selected. I think you'll all understand it's not easy, and there's some players that had outstanding years that have been unlucky and have missed out.
Before we leave it, would you agree with me, just you personally, yes, you personally, would you say that Worrell was the most unlucky?
No, I think there was a couple of unlucky players. I loved Josh Worrell's season. I really did.
Who's the couple? Who's the other one?
Oh, you go through the squad.
I'm asking you.
Because then I'll mention one, and then there's what about this guy? So there's nothing to gain by me sitting here and copping all the bullets when it's a 9-person selection committee, and as a collective, we're very happy with the team.
I think you watch more footy than anyone else on that panel, so I want your opinion.
Yeah, but I think they watch a lot of footy as well.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't, clearly.
No, I don't think they watch anywhere near as much as yourself. Nowhere near as much. And you're going to look for some new members next year. You're losing a couple, aren't you?
Well, I want you to.
This
is what I'm advocating for.
No,
because you are a vocal critic often of the All-Australian team, which is fine, which is your role.
I just pass on the message from the people.
And that's your role. I'm not critical of you, but I can't wait until you're on it. No. And I'm pushing hard for this to happen.
I would get Lee Montagna on there. I think
he's
one that watches it most.
There's a couple of vacancies, I would think. There's certainly one. I don't think Pav I don't think Pav could be a CEO and sit on the All-Australian
Wouldn't watch the footy
committee. And we'll see what happens with Bucks. I don't think he could be a senior coach and sit on the.
But it'll be difficult.
I don't think that's happened before.
That'd be difficult.
Now I don't know whether Bucks wants to coach or not. And by the way, he does a brilliant job on the All-Australian team, but I don't think he could be a coach. And so there may be a couple of vacancies.
Will you stay on there?
I don't know. We'll see.
Hang on. Is it a yes or give
I'll
me an
see.
answer?
Well, if I get asked.
Oh, if you get asked, you'll say yes.
Yeah, if I get asked, I'll say
good.
yes.
I just thought for a minute that you were shifting.
1300
Sort of stumbled across
736 if you want to change topic, because I find it just slightly boring, the whinging and sooking.
No, I think it's important to be recognised.
Yeah,
I think it's important for guys like Tristan Sherry, Nick Vlosten, who I don't think's ever been All-Australian. He's had a fantastic 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. What are we now? 20? Yeah, probably 7 or 8 years. And has been line ball a couple of times and missed out. I just thought maybe this time was probably his last opportunity. So that I'm a bit disappointed for those guys.
Hey, you know it's important that we keep ourselves accountable. At the start of the year,
this is good.
We did our over-unders.
Well, there you have it. Some very interesting comments about last night's All-Australian team from Kane Corns, who, by the way, is not a spokesperson. Despite the fact he's on the All-Australian committee, he's one of the largest voices in the media. He's on $1 million plus from SCN and Channel 7. He's not a spokesperson. Okay. A couple of things I want to touch on before we wrap up today's Slam Talk Sports. Hope you liked it. A little bit different from usual because we didn't have any AFL games on. I've only got the women's competition tonight. I'm not an expert on that, unfortunately. I want to mention Richmond-Essendon, bit of a rivalry. There's one player in Essendon's AFLW team, which has been a great success, which I'm going to enjoy watching tonight. It is her name. I'm so bad with it. Hold on. Let me get her Instagram. I think it's actually spelt out phonetically. Is that how you say it? Just so I can get it. It's Georgia, and it's Georgia Nascuin. Now, if I've got that wrong, please shoot me, okay? Georgia, fantastic player. She's come from Essendon's VFLW, and then she's dominated in the VFLW. Suffered, I think, 2 ACL injuries, at least one, which she did in the grand final, similar to Erin Phillips. Ended up being best on ground in that grand final. Anyway, I was there in attendance to watch Essendon win a flag. How good is that? But anyway, it then goes to the AFLW, rehabs that injury, and it's become one of Essendon's best midfielders. I think she also represented Australia in hockey, a truly star two-sport athlete. Make sure to watch out for Georgia tonight. Now, there's a couple of Georgias around Essendon, but Georgia Nascuin, if I've got that name correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. She's an absolute star for the Bombers. The other thing I want to touch on. Now, Legends game, I want to back over one other thing. Anyone seen this little feud escalating, it seems, between Daniel Gorringe and Dylan Buckley? Now, we all know they were together at Clubby Sports, and they were the podcast for dickheads, for people that love sports, people that love footy mainly, but a bit of a dickhead. And that was List Cloggers. It was the humour of Daniel Gorringe. It was the footy insights and humour of Dylan Buckley as well. Now, they're not mates anymore. I'm going to play this little clip today from Dan Does Footy. It appears that Daniel is pretty fucking pissed off at Dylan Buckley, and it appears that it is over partnerships or business opportunities, or really just accusing Dylan of dogging him, just being a shit bloke who doesn't have respect for. Make of it what you will. I think we're still lacking a lot of context when it comes to the separation of Dylan Buckley and Daniel Gorringe, at least professionally, but make of this what you will, and we're going to try and piece together this story here at Slam Talk Sports, because we love Dan Does Footy here. Does a great job promoting the sport. He is a funny fucking idiot, and I think he'd willingly just put that on a tagline, like Dan Does Footy, funny fucking idiot. Dylan Buckley, obviously one of the biggest podcasters in a game. Listen to Dylan Friends and Footy and Friends many a time. He's really on top, isn't he? He is one of the biggest of all time. But this is just, it's weird to see two of the big names in podcasting and in social media and just in footy going at it.
Well, that went, yeah. So Husey got absolutely followed. I got in a few biffs there. I got on with Dill as well early.
Good to get that one.
Good to get it out of the system. Felt good. So a lot of people asking, is the beef real? Is it not? I mean, I couldn't really care going into it. It was nice to get him at the end there. He did get me the start. I think I slipped. He got me the start good. And then I got my feed and I was just right into him. One of those ones where it's like, I don't really care enough about him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all the stuff that's happened between him and I, it felt like as a person who had built something with him, all I want is just a bit of just a bit of respect or an apology for everything that him and his team have done in past business ventures together, where you've shafted me. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with being shafted as a former friend. I don't think I'll ever be friends with him. As a former friend or at least a business person, I would just expect someone to be like, hey, I was so sorry for all this stuff we did to you, after very open conversations that you took your own direction for me only to find out. Just as a man, I just would love the respect of an apology, which I've never got. Mm-hmm. And there was very much this, pre-game, I said, look, the best thing for you to do here is just to lean into it, man.
Lean into what?
Lean into I'm going to come after you.
Yeah.
Do I actually mean it or wish any harm on you? Not at all. I don't care. It was nice I was on top of him, and obviously he would have loved it when he was on top of me. But outside of that, I just want an apology.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Didn't get one?
No, never. It's just, and I just won't respect him and his team ever. And that's okay. So I think that's a good chapter to close it all on. And that's done. Now, Fev did fuck me up in that thing.
Man.
Fev came in hot. I was eating grass for a few minutes there.
You didn't think that I'd become TMZ Slam, following on from Jasper's report today on Twitter. Now, how do I say Jasper's last name? Hold on, guys. Give me a sec. Jasper Chalappah. Now, it's CHELLAPPAH. Jasper Chalappah. He reported this today. Now, was I going to tag him and report on his report about two podcasters being at odds, at a war? I felt like that's the most jobless thing I could have possibly done. Now, I've got very little employment, but that just seemed just too jobless and desperate for me to report on. So instead, I saved it for my podcast. Hope you enjoyed that little one. Finally, now, NFL starts very soon. But today we had one of the big trades in the NFL. Micah Parsons, or Michael Parsons, as Jerry Jones called him multiple times, he was traded from the Dallas Cowboys, the Collingwood equivalent of the AFL, the Los Angeles Lakers equivalent, to the Green Bay Packers. This is a stunning trade. Micah Parsons is one of the biggest names in the NFL, one of the best defensive players in the league, and it seems entering his fifth season, he's been traded due to cheapness, due to disagreements between the ownership, the GM, and the player. Now, and in case you didn't know this, in Dallas, Jerry Jones is the owner and the general manager. He owns the team and he makes all the big calls. Effectively, he's almost coaching the team because he handpicks the coach and tells them the way he wants to play pretty much every season. But in this instance, he's traded away their best player for 2 future first-round picks and a 30-year-old defensive tackle. This might be all Spanish to you. This might be gibberish. But in AFL terms, this would be like trading away your superstar 24, 25-year-old for 2 first-round picks and saying, oh, we're going to draft another one of them. We can't afford to pay him. We don't think he's worth that. Attitude, we're not crazy about it. He doesn't play on my watch. He doesn't play the way I want to play, okay? And at the end of the day, I'm writing his checks. That's what happened. It's crazy. When this happens, the team that loses the star player doesn't usually pan out that well for them. I think of Khalil Mack being traded from the Oakland Raiders, at the time, to the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears immediately were in contention for the playoffs. They made the playoffs. They lost on the double doink. Khalil Mack was the defensive player of the year. They had a better all-round team. They could have gone close to playing in a Super Bowl. That's not how it worked. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to go better than that. I think Micah Parsons might be the missing piece in what is a really talented team. It is going to be a good defense now in Green Bay, along with Jordan Love and Matthew Golden, their star rookie receiver. I think is going to be a star, we'll see, and Josh Jacobs. I'm just very confident that Green Bay made a ripping call today. They traded in a star defensive player, and I'm trying to put it in AFL terms. It's hard though, because an AFL club wouldn't trade a 23 or 24-year-old star to save a little bit of money, and because they didn't like his attitude. You'd sign him up 7 years in the AFL. They'd get a Hayden Young contract. Very different the way they do things over in America. A lot of egos get bruised and personalities clash. But that's the NFL update. Micah Parsons is out of the Dallas Cowboys and he's found his way to the Green Bay Packers. We're going to be talking a lot about NFL on this podcast. The season starts next Friday. It is the Dallas Cowboys, of course, kicking off the season, going into Philadelphia to play the reigning champion Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to be trying to do the Friday podcast, if I still can, every week to talk about the NFL and talk about what's happening over in the US sports to fill that void of no footy. But we've still got a big month coming up for the AFL. We've got finals kicking off next Thursday, Adelaide Oval, between Collingwood and Adelaide. I'll be doing a full round preview Thursday morning. It will come out. I'll try and do it Wednesday night. If not, it'll be out Thursday morning to get you ready for a huge weekend of finals. Until then, enjoy your last footy-free weekend because it's time. It is finally time for the games that matter. For the footy fans out there, for the sports fans out there, this was Slam Talk Sports. I'll see you all at the footy finals. And lastly, but not leastly, go Oscar. Go Oscar, baby. Sunday night, we're going to win it all. Woo!